Friends, today's video is brought to you by the theme of different strokes because I woke up this morning with the theme song in my head and I could only remember the first line. The world doesn't move to the sound of just one drum. And I just thought how beautiful that was. And as I sat with it, as I listened to the lyrics, as I looked at the lyrics, all of these different layers of meaning started pouring out. I've been trying to figure out what to share. And in that moment, I realized, the teaching of feeling special and the teaching of feeling different. And this is something that I made a video about last year, having sat with it for a while, and I just didn't post it. And I do that a lot. I probably post maybe a third of what I actually make. I just don't get that internal green light. So I realized that, this is so many different meanings, but it's also a sign, a nudge to share this teaching. The teaching that came through was this idea of wanting to feel special. And I'm going to say verses, which I'm hesitant, but for the context of this conversation, feeling special versus feeling different. Just to compare them, and then we're going to unite them. And fun fact, one of the reasons why that's so funny. Okay, so one of the reasons why this arose for me was because I have a Minions mug, and yes, I'm a 43-year-old woman, and I just realized that I'm literally wearing yellow and blue like the Minions. So something I learned in a class a while ago, and I've been really noticing the truth of it, is that you should have said within like the 5 feet of your surroundings, there's so much information. And that's really coming to light in a beautiful way lately. Similarly to what I'm sharing, because I had so many meanings come through around the Different Strokes theme song. I also just loved that show growing up. And this idea that the world doesn't move to the sound of just one drum. And if you look at the lyrics, it really just speaks to how everyone has something to offer. Everyone is equal and shines in their own way. There's even a line about shining. So if you've noticed in yourself, in others, this desire to feel special, wanting to feel special, and it may come in different ways, wanting to feel special at work, at home, with friends, in the world, on social media, and how we define that, feeling special. Some people define it as being successful. Some people define it by likes and followers. So everyone comes at it in their own unique way. And that right there is kind of the crux of this conversation. This idea that everyone is special. And because everyone is special, no one is special in the way that we want to feel. And by that, I mean we have this idea of feeling special as someone is better than another. The idea of celebrity culture, right? We put these people on a pedestal and make them special, but they're just humans. They're just like you and I, just having a different experience in life. And so the idea that everyone is special, so no one is better than another, but everyone is special, inherently special. Why? Because everyone is different. And that was what really hit me with this, because so many people want to feel special, but very few people feel safe feeling different. Some people do. I've always been odd, and I kind of embraced my quirks and my eccentricities to kind of get ahead of the curve. It felt almost protective to kind of like be in on the joke, you know? I wasn't always in on the joke, and I think that kind of taught me to to embrace it so that it couldn't become a joke. It just simply was, right? So people want to feel special but not different. But it is because we are different, because we're each unique. And we are each unique in so many ways. Even identical twins are unique in their own ways. And so because we are different from one another, we are special. And what ties us together in a little bow is when you bring in the idea of unity consciousness. And I shared a video recently. The premise of it was, are we individuated souls? And it wasn't necessarily creating a, this is right, this is wrong. It was just bringing in a new perspective. Very similar to Newtonian physics and quantum physics. It just looks at it through a different lens. And so the message that came through was, what if we were one being, right? One soul. What if humanity was a soul? The way we think about each other as individual souls. What if humanity was a soul? And every single human being was a parallel life being lived simultaneously by that soul. And again, I'm not saying that that is what is true. It's just simply a mental framework to wrap our head around something that is different than what we're used to. And when we can sit with that, we can feel into the energy of it. And as we sit with the energy of it, we can then release the mental frameworks, the rigidity around an idea, and just sort of be with the energy, the essence of it. And so when you bring this idea in that we are one soul having parallel lives, the idea that we are all one, yet also different and thereby special, it's a little bit easier to digest. And when we can sit with this, when we have differences with someone, remembering that we are connected, that we are one, we can have that experience. We can have a disagreement. We can have interpersonal issues and go through that experience, feel all the feelings, grow through it, while simultaneously understanding that we are inherently connected, thereby having this sense of gratitude. Because if you are in a place of reacting, oftentimes it's poking at something. It's poking at a wound. And it's coming up. And oftentimes we react to one another. And I spoke about this in a blog post a while ago about shifting from cancel culture to compassion culture, right? Instead of reacting, understand that something is being brought to the surface to be seen, to be healed, to be released. And I think that's a massive energetic component to what is happening collectively, including individually, right? What happens in the individuals is within the collective, within the individual, especially if you see it through this lens of humanity as being one soul. We are all parallel lives. That soul is having an experience of. So we can thereby have these experiences that help us grow, but also see the truth that we are one and still maintain that sense of love and gratitude for the other. So thereby in time, there's less violence, there's less hate, there's less division, there's less war. We move into that sense of unity consciousness and that there is no separation. We're just experiencing a separation because we are in form, but energetically, at an eternal sense, we are not separate at all. And we are actually helping and supporting one another. And I know that's really, really hard to do with many, many different experiences that so many people are having right now. And so I also invite you not to see it through the lens of catastrophic tragedy that is being done to humans, the planet, animals, but kind of low stakes experiences, right? Somebody driving too fast, somebody driving too slow, I've written a lot of blog posts around this shift of reacting into unity consciousness, specifically while driving, because, you know, I'm wanting someone to go a certain speed because that's what I want them to do. But they're having an experience and I'm somehow connected to them. So they're also giving me an experience. So again, if we can see the oneness in it all, and then have a sense of gratitude when things arise. Again, sitting with low stakes experiences to build that muscle so that when something does happen that's more intense, we can see it through new eyes, through a different lens of compassion, of understanding, of purpose, and not as a sense of disempowerment or victimhood or divisiveness or hate towards another or towards oneself, depending on how you are interpreting the experience. There's a lot there. It started with different strokes and it was supported by the minions. So thanks, minions. But this idea that we are inherently special because we are different. And because everyone is special, no one is more or less special than another. And if we can bring in a perspective that humanity is one soul living simultaneously 8+ billion parallel lives, past, present, future, we begin to also stop putting people on pedestals, but we also stop condemning people and perpetuating that cycle of kind of in the way that karma has turned into reward and punishment. We've kind of translated that onto one another, but that's not the essence of karma. It's just simply this idea of cause and effect, the energy of cause and effect. So this has gone in a lot of different areas, so thank you if you have stayed this long and have tracked it all, and also knowing that whatever is connecting is what needs to connect for you at this moment. You may rewatch this in a year and hear something totally different. So that is what I got for you today. You are different. Oh, this is something that actually came up in the last video that I wanted to share. The idea of special needs. We call it special needs, but it's just different needs. And it's interesting how everyone wants to feel special, but the term special needs took on a whole different energy. And again, it's just different. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just different. And I think through this lens, like through the telepathy tapes, we're also seeing folks with autism. They operate differently. And the world is not set up to accommodate people that are different than the norm, which is a problem. And we've seen this throughout the years, right? If someone was queer, they were put in a mental institution. I think it was in the DSM, actually. Homosexuality was in the DSM, which is a clinical diagnostic tool for mental health. We continuously condemn someone when they're different. And if we can start recognizing that everyone's different, everyone has unique needs, we can maybe cultivate and create a world that accommodates that. Because it's pretty clear that we need to. Because the way things are going right now aren't really working for everyone. All right, I'm going to hit pause there because I think I'll probably go into 100 different tangents. So thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to share any comments if they are arising. And until next time, friends, stay curious.